This is going to be a really special top three because I have to admit that when we first brought the actually Colin brought the idea of this topic, I was kind of let's see how it's probably we already addressed that in the past, but no, it became something quite beautiful. I think it's probably
We haven't done something like this in quite some time either.
yes, and it's for me was powerful. It is
Carlos might cry on us tonight.
top three places that have sparked the best Disney memories.
This was difficult. This was
It's
It
hard
was
to
really
narrow it
difficult.
down.
Oh, it was impossible to narrow it down.
Yeah.
I mean, at the end, you saw even when I thought I had narrowed it down, I was like, no, wait, move this around and here, but this was for me. It just became a highlight reel kind of thing. Like this isn't going to be a comprehensive list in any way, but it's going to be,
Yeah.
There's a reality here that like most of these places aren't the reason the memory exists anyway, or the sentimental thing exists anyway. It's normally the people you're around and things that kind of ring home with you. And that's what I preach constantly to folks that read my site or Instagram or wherever you choose to follow along with any of it. I mean, we all are under that same mindset. It's not about the place. It's often about the people. And I did put these in kind of an intentional order, which is rare for me. But Carlos, go ahead and show what became my number 3. It's not something I actually intended to put on my list originally, but it became one. And for me, it was World of Color at DCA. For me, this was kind of a long process. I mean, for years, I thought I wouldn't make it to Disneyland, just because the cost involved and so many things coming from Kentucky that it wasn't just, quite honestly, it wasn't a feasible reality for a lot of the things that I was doing at the time, especially with the site. I needed to be in Walt Disney World more than I needed to be in California. And through a series of good opportunities, I ended up there, but I also ended up there with these two guys that I did the show with. And it was kind of the catalyst for this show. But the night that we did World of Color was just something very unique. I mean, it's something that I think all of us will have a memory of for quite some time, if not forever. And it was a night we couldn't have asked for better weather. We couldn't have asked for a better experience. And we couldn't have asked for better crowd levels. I mean, everything kind of fell in line. And it was this week last year. And we all see what happened the following weeks after that. And that's just it's an experience that I think we'll all remember because, one, maybe because of context, but it's also probably one of the last memories of a Disney park, especially California, that we'll have before any of this played out. And I think it's important for us to recognize that, especially as we get to go back there at some point as they start to kind of phase things back through. But I know, if at least for me, it's something I'll always remember. It's a sentimental place because it's like, hey, it's a good memory attached to it. And we got to wander not the boardwalk. I always see where my mind always goes, but the kind of boardwalk-esque feel of the lake there around the World of Color Lagoon. But long story made short, it's just something that sticks out. It's something that we don't always have the opportunity to do as Walt Disney World people. So it was an opportunity to have kind of a dual purpose situation there, and hopefully we get back sometime soon so we can repeat the process.
Yes, we need to do that. Jason, I recommend you to be the next one.
okay, I can do that. Oh,
Well, now
I
it's
remember
time
Wishes.
To go cry.
I know. It's not just Wishes. It was Wishes in Disneyland, and it wasn't just Wishes in Disneyland. It was Wishes in Disneyland at the on that second level up above where Carousel Progress once was, and they have a dessert party there that you can do, and I was there. This was in October. I think this was in October when I took my son Alex, our eldest son Alex, for his birthday to Disneyland, and that was the last time I was in Disneyland. Like we were in Disneyland as a family. It was just the two of us too. So it was a really special trip, and Minnie came and visited and everything. But that was such an incredible night, and that was it's one of those moments where just everything was just perfect. The weather was perfect, and the evening was perfect. And it was just really lovely, and I was there with Alex. I'm trying not to get teary, but but I remember. So the deal was I
thought it was going to be Carlos.
This was a 3. This was a 3. I think this is 3A, and then there's a 3B, if I'm not mistaken, right?
Yes.
Cheating already. Okay. Nobody's surprised.
Let me show you. Let me show you the 3B.
Oh, what are you lost? Do you have a map? You just know your way around Disneyland? So you've been here many times before? No, it's your first time here? No. How many times have you been here then? Before, once. Your second time. You surely have some sort of a favorite adventure, right?
My favorite adventure is Saturday Night.
I like that one too. You try to find the second star on the right when you go there? That's where Neverland is. You never have to draw. You take it forever. Doesn't it sound perfect? No, you'd rather get old and get wrinkles and gray hair and forget things and not be able to see and move slow. You need me to keep going on and listening? You should just stay young forever. You want to be in a photo with me?
I mean, come on. And that's Henry. That's Henry. He's my youngest boy, and
I'm sure he loved that you put that on the internet.
He has no idea. And it's Disneyland, So one of the wonderful things about Disneyland is that the characters just roam. Mm-hmm. They just roam around, and that was this spur of the moment, kind of serendipitous. We weren't in any queue to meet Peter Pan. We had gone back to that area on the side, the side of Sleeping Beauty's castle, where the fountain is in the wishing well. You can hear Snow White in the background singing from the wishing well. It's kind of creepy. Anyway, and
it's okay.
Well, it's weird. It's like she's singing from the well. Is she in the well? But we had gone over there, and then Peter Pan just kind of comes on through and stops and talks and has this interaction that's just incredible. And that is not a unique experience. That's what's incredible about Disneyland. What's more incredible is that that was the second time we had gone to Disneyland as a family, and that particular day was New Year's Day. Oh. And we had decided, spur of the moment, because I don't know, the weather was, I can't remember exactly why, but in Jason fashion, we decided New Year's Eve that we would go to Disneyland on New Year's Day. And we drove. The kids went to sleep in the minivan. They slept in the garage in the minivan, like overnight. So then we went out in the morning without having to wake them up and left at 5 in the morning, 4 in the morning maybe, and drove to Anaheim from the San Francisco Bay Area down to Anaheim, which is about a 5.5 hour drive. And then we parked, did Disneyland, and then at whatever time it was, 8 o'clock at night, we drove back home.
My God.
And so it was this crazy, crazy fun, incredible day, and to be there with the family, and it's just like any of these moments in the park, and this was my point with having these two in there, any of the moments in the parks with your kids, especially when, it's kind of these, it's just one-on-one kind of situations, special trips that you take. It's so nice.
It's always special.
It's so nice, right? It doesn't matter where. That's the thing. It doesn't matter where you are. It doesn't matter what place or attraction you're in, what restaurant you're dining in. It doesn't matter. What matters is the people you're with. As Colin pointed out. Anyway, okay, that's it. I'm done. I'm done with that. You do something else.
All right, time for Carlos to cry.
No,
here we go.
Let's go to my number 3. My number 3 would be a place. My 3 options were I was able to focus on a place. I do have an honorable mention for the first one, but this one is a special place for me, and it is the Imagination Pavilion. Okay, I do have a strong connection with this pavilion, not only because I loved the original attraction there, but there were moments with my family that I still have the videos that I had there. and there are moments with my brother. And what we show here is actually my brother, who is almost 40. He's 49, going to 50 now. And
I'm
he's
sure he
gonna
appreciates you sharing that.
no, probably he's not aware of
That sounds very young.
People would not recognize him. But there was my family always loved the Imagination Pavilion, and I like to share, including a very young, but always beautiful Carlos. And
Pulling your
that's
leg.
it.
That's not Carlos.
Yes, that was Carlos. That's Carlos waving bye-bye.
That's cool footage.
Guys,
That's
I
hard- that
always,
stuff's
and
still
that
hard to
was in
find.
1984. And I always have this, it brings me that feeling, remembering my brother playing with the water. And we always love the attraction. We always love the whole thing, playing there in the imagination area. Every time I go there, I remember brings me back the memory of that trip in 1984. So
That's what it's all about. So this one made my list, and actually it was one that I did not expect to make my list. But for those of you who don't know, I actually have an older sister. It's about 3.5 years older than me. And our first stay at Boulder Ridge, which is at Wilderness Lodge. If you know the show, you know how I feel about Boulder Ridge. But this was our very first stay there, which actually wasn't that long ago, probably about 6 years ago. And my sister and I got back to the room late one night because we're notorious for staying out later than everybody else, and we'll just come back to the resort because our parents just didn't care. I mean, it's Disney. And on this particular night, we decided to go back downstairs at Wilderness Lodge because there'd been a big thunderstorm a few hours earlier in the night. And this was probably 12:30, 1 o'clock in the morning because we're night people by nature. And we just kind of wandered around. And it sounds so simple, but when you're one of the only people at Wilderness Lodge at night, you see things differently. You experience things differently. And for the first time, it was one that I really explored this resort. All the little small spaces that not necessarily you're going to notice at first glance, at first pass. And for me, this became an odd memory. I mean, my sister's a little older than me, so she doesn't live here anymore. She just still travels with us, but it's one of those things, and it's one of those memories that you have with a sibling that you're not everybody has the opportunity or the blessing in their life to have, especially because a lot of people don't get along with their siblings. But we've always been Disney people. We've always been, we've got along quite well, which is kind of weird compared to most families. So it's something that always has always stuck with me. As odd as it sounds, it's just, I picked this one because it's these type of memories that stick with me for years. It's the stuff that you don't expect that's going to be important at all. And then you look back and it's like, well, I don't remember what attraction I rode that day. I don't remember what I ate that day. I don't have a clue how I got to that point in my day. I remember the storm that set up this evening because we went back to the resort at a later time. But I mean, it's just something you never expect to recall. And those are the memories that I tend to have at Walt Disney World more than anything else when I look back on it time and time again. I mean, there are events, but it's something about the random little moments.
So my number two, round two, like 3A, 3B. Okay, 2 is I think another video clip. And this is just again, it's like one representation of the general theme of number 2, which is really anytime I get to spend one-on-one time, just the two of us, with Michelle in a Disney park.
I told him he was looking for brownie points.
remember thinking, like, I got to turn this camera around because people are going to think, and maybe I was thinking I'm going to forget who I was with, like, in terms of whether the kid, because I'm thinking it's like not a kid. I'm not with, it's not the kids. It's Michelle. Michelle's right here with me.
He's a kid at heart, and that's all that matters.
Well, yeah, and I don't know if you could tell, you could see this construction in the background was all the other parts of New Fantasyland still being constructed. I think this was back from 2013, if I'm not mistaken, when that was shot. Anyway, it's a special day. There's so many of those moments that I can think of that where even more recently, since we've moved to Walt Disney World, and we try to get the kids to go, and they say, no, we're too busy. I don't play online with our friends, but no. Right. And we're like, oh, darn, we have to go without kids?
We have to go without you? What a shame.
And this other day, and I have pictures of this, but not any video, unfortunately, but one of my other favorite moments much more recently was shortly after we moved here, and we went to the Magic Kingdom on this super rainy day. I mean, like, just crazy rainy day, and we dressed for it.
Sometimes they're the best days.
It was so great. It was so great because not only was the park more than half empty, but everyone who was there wanted to be there at that point.
Yep.
You know, so there's no crying, there's no arguing, no one's upset about anything.
You're
even
all
though
in the same
everyone's
boat. You're all dripping wet, so it doesn't matter.
Kids and adults are splashing through puddles. It's a mess, and it's fantastic. And we I remember getting pictures with photo pass cast members who, and it's just we're just drenched. We just look like wet rats, you know, just like, so I look like a wet rat. She looks wonderful, but like it's just. And it was just those days are great. Same thing happened in Epcot, and I anyway, I adore Michelle, but I adore her even more when we're in Walt Disney World because it's always a nice positive, like a plus. It's a plus.
Okay, let me go to my second one. Actually, for the second one, I don't have a video. I will have a photo, but it is combined with the two things that both Jason and Collin brought up. And actually, despite the fact that I'm talking about as a very special place, the Disney Grand Floridian Resort, actually I will pinpoint a specific place on the resort that every time I walk by, I remember a situation or I remember a trip. And it was a trip that we did it was the Christmas of 2000, and it was my whole family there, my parents, my sister with two young kids, with my niece and my nephew, my brother. Everybody was there, and we spent the Christmas week and Christmas night there. It was amazing. But
that was well before you moved to the States, right?
Yes, but it was during that day me and Candida, we took this photo, and it was in the pier. It was in the pier that we take the launches for Magic Kingdom, and that is probably the last photo that was my word was only me and Candida, because moments later we found out that Maria was in here,
she's in the picture.
Later?
Let's put it that way.
It was like hours before.
Wow.
We knew that
hours before
that we received the news that she was expecting Maria.
I'm with you.
Okay, so actually that was a photo of probably the last trip that we did. Only me and Canada in the parks, because we used to hit the parks a lot, and we used to travel a lot to Disney. Only the two of us, and actually that was the probably one of the last pictures that we have, only the two of us in Disney, because from that on became something that we only did with the kids.
And I love that spot. I mean, that was one of my favorite spots in all of Walt Disney World to just kind of hang out. There's that bench there.
Yes.
Oh, love that spot.
Collin, let's go to your number 3. Things a little bit slowly and tricky for me here with this Stream Deck, but I'm holding firmly.
So this is actually probably the most specific one on my list, and it goes back to when Magic Kingdom, go with me here, when Magic Kingdom had the previous hub where it was kind of the more more typical hub and spoke design where they've kind of cut sections out of it now. Well, on the left side of Main Street, there was the little signboard that was the map for the entire park. It was just kind of a cutout area, and it leaned over in the flower bed, basically. It was kind of off-centered. But one night, we kind of strolled up for the fireworks, super last minute, and this was when it was Wishes. And as a family, it's probably one of the... Obviously, this picture's not Wishes, but this was Happily Ever After's finale. But it's the only thing I had from a similar place in the park. It would have been on the left-hand side of this picture. We just happened to stroll up right before the fireworks went off, and we found this little spot. It was just kind of, nobody was standing there. It was a great spot. You could just kind of lean on the map there, and the four of us were just kind of worked out. And I just remember from that, it was the first time I can recall, at least me personally. I mean, I've been going to the park since I was like 3 years old. So, but one of the earliest memories I can recall that I actually took a step back during the fireworks and looked around instead of just watching the show. And it kind of sticks with you because you start to see not only the reactions in the people's faces around you and the families and things like that, but I have this discernible memory of looking around and you notice that all the eyes are in the same place. Everybody's watching the same thing. But if you take the second to turn around, you start to notice the looks on other people's faces, the experiences that they're having at the same time you're having them. The 50-year-old man with his daughter on his shoulders, just enjoying the show and probably crying his eyes out in the back of his head if he's not doing it on his own face. I mean, you start to recognize that it's a thing, that's a theme park, it's a place, but it's something that's far bigger than what we tend to give it credit for. It's a place that harvests memories, and it creates so many incredible things that we tend to take for granted as people that have been going to Disney for years on end. But when you look back on things like this and the moments that we've shared across the board, I mean, this is my number one for a reason because it's something I try to do every time I'm in the parks now and seeing fireworks shows. It's one of the things I miss the most right now because it feels like that's the right way to end your night in a park. But I can't forget that moment, for lack of a better word. Mm-hmm. And from that point on, you start to recognize it's a different thing. I mean, you can watch fireworks anywhere else, but you don't get that reaction anywhere else. And for me, that's part of the reason why Wishes will always hold kind of a special place to me, where Happily Ever After doesn't as much, but it's that kind of stuff. And I think that's kind of the story of my entire list, and it's probably going to be the top thing for you guys as well, or something similar. Because that's just it's what resonates. It's why we do what we do. It's why we share what we share at the end of the day.
Yeah, well, my number, it's very similar. It's so I don't have a video of this. I mean, but it could be any number of videos, and it could be any number of pictures. But this one moment is but a representation of so many other moments, and it's not. So this is. I think that's. I don't know which kid that is. Honestly, don't know which kid that is. It's so terrible. It's probably Henry. I don't know.
Knows, I can tell you that much.
Yeah, probably. It's probably Henry. And the thing is that it doesn't matter where you are, and it doesn't even matter if it's you. Like Collin is exactly right. If fireworks are happening or there's a nighttime show of some sort or something, like even a parade, like you look around and you see in the sea of people just scores of these moments, right? There's just so much love and joy and awe and like for me this one particular picture brings out this there's excitement, right? And because we know what's happening. This is a Christmas show. You can see the snow that's the like fake snow. It's probably the Snope actually that's falling.
Well, it's Florida. It's not the real deal, that's for sure.
But and this was probably Alex. I don't think about it. This is probably Alex because he was the only one who would sleep. He could fall asleep through any fireworks show at any time. And Henry always stayed up for them. But there's also that safety, right? That there's this human being that's hanging on to you, and even if they're missing the whole show, that's not the point, and.
There's always that running joke that when you take kids to Disney World, it's not for the kids, it's for you.
Yeah,
that's usually what it comes out to be. I mean,
and I think that's what it is. It's this, and it gets back to this, I think, common theme, and maybe we blew up the whole subject of the top three, and I'm
I
sorry.
think we knew we were going to
Yeah,
do that.
no, you're
but
right.
but it was the idea that it's hard to say here's this place or this space that that is this like ultimate nostalgic moment or sentimental moment. Because it isn't about. I mean, as much as we celebrate especially me, the places and spaces, they're irrelevant. They're hollow
Mm-hmm.
They're just
without
places.
the heart
Mm-hmm.
and without the people and without the connection to the sort of the human connection. And so that's it doesn't matter where you are. It doesn't matter who you're with, as long as you're with someone. And that's the thing. And I think, and it doesn't mean that you can't celebrate and enjoy Disney alone, because I have those moments all the time where, I mean, sometimes more often than I'd like, but,
People don't like traveling with Jason.
but I want to call out is it's different. It's
very different.
It's
and if
different.
if you've not done it, it's hard to explain to somebody else. I mean,
Yep.
we're people that do go to the parks alone, probably just as much, if not more, than we do with other people.
No, for me,
and it
much
is a
more.
very different experience.
Yep.
And the experience that you have, so that's the wonderful thing about Disney is that the memories I have as a child with my parents are wonderful and amazing and distinctly separate, and like they're very different from the memories I have of going there with just Michelle. And they're very different from the memories I have of being there with my kids, which are very different from the memories I have of being there with friends or even being there alone. And every single one of those experiences stands on its own.
Yep.
And is amazing in and of itself. But for me, from a sentimental standpoint, it's that connection to family in these spaces that I think has the strongest resonance for me.
I need to take that as a segue, because it's the very main reason for my number one. And you both of you were with me when we did the podcast with the Loose podcast, the one with Walt.
Uh-huh. Yep.
That some kind of surprise that I said, no, I want to take Walt to a restaurant, and I said I want to take it to a German restaurant. I'm the Brazilian guy, but a German restaurant. But I took, and that's my number one. I took him and I said, why I would like to take him to the beer garden is because it is a family place. And when you get there with those large tables, you have the family experience, and you have, in normal times, not now, but in normal times, you have family dancing and that whole thing together. And for me, it's pretty strong, because that is the place that usually in a normal year we have my whole family together for the end of the year meal, brunch, dinner. It's usually during the Christmas time, and for us now it's been hard because cannot travel here. It's the whole thing that is going wrong right now. We don't need to talk about it, but that is our official place. So I have a really I have many fond memories of the beer garden, and I'm bringing it as a specific place. But I want to show one thing that is about the beer garden, and it's that will represent pretty well when I say that it's a family place. And Jason, you already met Candida and the kids, and I hope you can recognize them, but they're dancing there. Take a look. Pedro was always the dancing guy, though. So
That's so cute. That's so cute.
that is what I have with. But there are so many special places for me and particularly with the kids. The kids start Town Square, Big Thunder Mountain. I have things like the Club Disney, the Playhouse Disney, the show. You have such a wonderful moments with the kids there, with they dancing. That is all about. So, but I needed to bring the beer garden because the beer garden is also congregates the rest of the family, and we have that tradition, and that was the whole thing that I wanted to bring as our options.
Yeah, I was just reading through some of the comments here, and there's a lot of really good stories here. And I'd actually encourage you, if you're comfortable sharing them, drop them in the group. I know I'd at least love to read through some of these that I haven't been able to catch in the comments. If you have a story you want to share, or you have photos you want to share, throw it in the After Hours group. I know a lot of people that the comments go through so fast sometimes that we can't keep up, but we will go back and read as many as we can. But if in the group, we'll definitely see them.
Yes.
But I mean, seriously though, I think this is one of those segments we could do 15 times and have 15 different top 3 lists.
I had another video here, but I will save it for another time.